Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. It is, and this is the review for the Austrian Grand Prix. And Max Verstappen, yet again, taking another victory and fastest lap as he gets it on the final turn. Max Verstappen wins, Charles Leclerc in second, and Sergio Perez, all the way up from 15th position on the grid, comes and finishes off our podium in third position. A great race in the midfield, lots of overtakes. Lots of defending, great bit of defending from Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez battling it out towards the latter end of that race. But Sergio Perez, unfortunately, winning that battle. Sainz finishes in fourth position. Lando Norris, not a bad drive for him, finishes in fifth. And Fernando Alonso, quiet race for him, finishes in sixth. The two Mercedes, seventh and eighth. And how was that race, Reese?
It was certainly very exciting. We got some great battles with the likes of Norris and Hamilton, Sainz and Perez, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, as well as some great battles in the midfield as well with Albon. I think Albon fighting off Nico Hülkenberg. No, sorry, not Nico Hülkenberg, Kevin Magnussen. We also had a good race from his teammate, Logan Sargent, finishing, I think, at the end in 13th.
Yeah, so that's a long race. I'll tell you something.
It was
like
a long race.
We did expect a little bit of rain towards the end of the session. There was a little hint of possibly it happening, but no rain at the end of the day. So we didn't have that go and influence our race. But let us know in the comments what you thought of this Austrian Grand Prix. Was it a little bit of a bit of a dull affair with regards to both Red Bull just dominating against Sergio Perez somehow? I mean, unbelievable, getting up from 15th position up into third, whereas a similar sort of car you might look at, Mercedes, of George Russell starting 11th, only finished in 8th. So one driver made up 12 positions, the other driver made up 3. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some drivers having a great race out here, some just not finding the pace. One of those drivers, unfortunately, being Hamilton, who's just really not been so comfortable this race weekend in his Mercedes. A few people asking, did Max lead every single lap of this race? Unfortunately, he didn't. If he did, he could have had his 4th Grand Slam, but when he pitted, the Ferraris did lead that race, just meaning that he did not take the Grand Slam this weekend, but he still has quite a few races this season in such a dominant car to try and get that record for himself.
Indeed. And just running through the race, just a very brief recap. So we started off and Max Verstappen had to fend off from both Ferraris for a little bit. Hamilton got a decent start as well, not able to make it stick though towards the end of the race. We had a very, very early safety car due to some contact from Yuki Tsunoda on the Alfa Romeo. It was an Alpine actually of Ocon, sorry, it was Alpine of Ocon, and he broke his front wing, had a lot of debris on turn 1 or / turn 2, and as a result, we had an early safety car in lap 2. Then later on, about lap 12 to about lap 15, Hülkenberg blew his engine, we believe, at least, and a virtual safety car was then deployed for that part of the race. After that, though, no incidents to really speak about other than tons and tons and tons of track limit penalties.
Yes, I mean, if you had to sum up this race in 2 words, it would be track limits. I mean, gosh, it was ridiculous. It was almost every second lap we had someone getting either the black and white flag or getting a penalty. I mean, we must have had almost 10 drivers getting a penalty here.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, lots of penalties there being given out. Lewis Hamilton was one of the first. Carlos Sainz got given a penalty. We saw lots of the smaller drivers get penalties. And I think one name we have to go and just single out as somebody who's impressed us today, and it's the fact that they didn't come last. Logan Sargent managed to finish in 13th position. Well done, you. You didn't come last.
Good race for Logie Sargent today.
Yes.
Not finishing in last, not DNFing. No. Certainly very happy for him.
Yeah.
A driver, a teammate that didn't have the greatest day compared to his teammate was, unfortunately, Lance Stroll, finishing down in 10th position, at least getting a point for the Aston Martin team today. But
started ahead of Alonso.
Yes, started ahead of Alonso, had a terrible first lap, fell behind Alonso then. And Alonso just quietly had a good race.
And for all that we said right before the start of this race, probably the best rookie driver on the grid out of the 3 we said was Oscar Piastri, and he finished the lowest of the 3. A terrible race for him, finishing down in 17th position, whereas his teammate Lando Norris finished up in 5th. So really not a great race for Oscar Piastri. So let's just run through from the bottom there. Nico Hülkenberg did not finish the race in 20th. Kevin Magnussen, his teammate, in 19th. So bad day for Haas. AlphaTauri's Yuki Tsunoda got many penalties right towards the end of the race.
He got a 10-second penalty in total, 15 seconds worth of penalties today.
So got a penalty for running Magnussen off the track, and then also got another penalty for track limits. So he finished in 8th.
Sorry, that
position.
was De Vries running.
Sorry, that
Magnussen
was
off
De
the
Vries.
track.
Yeah, so Yuki Tsunoda got 2 track limit penalties, so apologies.
As we do now see the orange army flooding the track. I mean, gosh,
Yes.
there's so many of them.
And speaking of orange, Oscar Piastri, of course, in that McLaren finished in 17th. Valtteri Bottas in 16th, and Nick De Vries, who got also the penalties there, in 15th position. Guan Yu Zhou of the Alfa Romeo finished in 14th. Logan Sargent, as we said, in 13th position. Esteban Ocon for Alpine in 12th. Alex Albon just missing out on the points in 11th position. Then rounding off our top 10, we then have...
Yes, Lance Stroll in 10th place. Not a bad race from him. Certainly could have been better, but Pierre Gasly also not having a bad race out there in P9. George Russell behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Not the greatest race from the Mercedes out there. I expected them to be a bit faster here in a more downforce track, but it certainly didn't seem to go that way here today. Then we had Fernando Alonso having his quietly good race down in P6. Not necessarily where he would have liked to have been. I would have liked to have seen him on the podium fighting it out with those Ferraris. I don't know why the Aston just seems to have fallen off the pace a little bit. Maybe this track just doesn't suit them as much. Also, being up at altitude, we've seen those Mercedes engines not necessarily performing too great. We see 1, 2, 3, 4 Mercedes engines in a row.
Yeah, and lower down.
Yes, and then we have up in 5th place, Lando Norris having a great race here today. Then in front of him, we have Carlos Sainz, who he fought with quite a bit. Lando Norris and Carlos had quite a good scrap there near the end. But then Perez capitalizing not the best starting position, starting down in 15th. Making his way all the way into P3.
Yeah, then Charles Leclerc
topping off the top of the finishers in P2, and Max Verstappen having another great race, finishing P1 and getting that fastest lap time.
So, yeah, I mean, standout drivers of the day of Lando Norris, of course, managing to stay right near the top there, of course, in a much slower car than those around him. Carlos Sainz was having a half-decent run as well as he went around. Sergio Perez, great run from him in 15th up into 3rd position. So great races from those drivers there. Charles Leclerc also just sticking on to a 2nd position on the grid in qualifying and staying all the way there until the end of the race and finishing in 2nd place. Of course, Max Verstappen winning this weekend yet again for Red Bull. So Drivers' Championship is still firmly in Red Bull's hands, but it's heating up a little bit for 2nd place. Ferrari starting to get some more points. There's some good, valuable points gained for Ferrari today in the 2nd and 4th position. Aston Martin losing out a bit of points with Alonso finishing in 6th and 10th. Again, Mercedes also losing out on points, finishing in 7th and 8th. So the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull 377, Mercedes 178, Aston Martin 172, and Ferrari 158. So
very close between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yeah, that's what I said.
We have a big gap towards Alpine in 5th, 48 points. McLaren 27 points in 6th. Haas in 7th with 11 points. Alfa Romeo in 8th, and then 9th and 10th.
Williams and AlphaTauri. Yeah. So, yeah, that was the Austrian Grand Prix. Really, not much more to talk about it. So,
I mean, I was hoping we'd get some race to throw a bit of a spanner in the works here, but it didn't come at the last second when we were hoping it would. We'd probably see some rain coming now during the podium ceremony. But yeah, overall was a very, very exciting race.
Yeah, so we had some very exciting moments in the middle. I do think probably the standout point was probably Sergio Perez and Sainz having quite a bit of a battle there for about 3 to 4 laps, where Sainz very cleverly employed a new tactic, just deliberately letting Sergio Perez get ahead of him for that DRS range before taking him in that DRS zone. So it did quite well, but Sergio Perez did eventually learn and come ahead of him.
Yes. Before we do wrap up, though, we have hit 28,000 subscribers.
Fantastic.
You know, that is absolutely brilliant. Thank you to everyone for tuning in throughout this entire race weekend. It's been a very busy race weekend with Formula 2 and Formula 3, but super glad to have had all of you alongside with us.
Indeed. And once again, thank you to our partner on the channel and sponsor for this weekend's Austrian Grand Prix watch along. That is Bitdefender, anti-malware and service provider there, Bitdefender. Fantastic group. Thank you so much to them. Please check them out in the description, of course. And also be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, turn on notifications. We'll see you probably tomorrow, I hope, for our podcast, our weekly podcast. We'll see you there. And otherwise, be sure to check us in the next Grand Prix in Silverstone, which is next. From me, Mark, and from Reese, we bid you all a farewell. Cheerio.